60 seconds. You have exactly 60 seconds and you're in the middle of a home invasion. What would you do? What you would do or would not do could determine whether you live or die. This is Charlie Crimebuster, and this is a Charlie Crimebuster special. Well, hello and welcome once again to the Charlie Crimebuster Show. Today we're going to be talking about how to survive a home invasion. And we'll share another dumb crook story. We call them crazy crook stories around here. And boy, is this one a doozer. That's a good old Tennessee term, by the way. That's where I was reared and born. And we're going to throw in a little cyber crime to help you stay on the edge as well. First, to follow up. Now, one of our most recent programs, we talked about how to keep from being carjacked. How to keep from becoming a carjacked victim. And in that program, we shared that there were certain tricks of the carjackers, and we shared several of those tricks. Now, if you did not take that program in, don't fret. We've got it on store for you. We've got it stored up, ready for you to listen to at your pleasure. Just give us a shout out at charliecrimebuster.com. charliecrimebuster.com. Say, hey, send me that program on carjacking, and we'll send it to you absolutely free of charge. Well, since that aired, one of our regular listeners, all the way from the state of Washington, this program is recorded in the state of Florida. This is all the way out in Washington. We have people listening to us. And this listener is a security expert out there by the name of Albert Bishop. Albert Bishop. He is a security expert out there, and he has already contributed a great deal to help keeping others safe. That's what we do here on the program as well. He and his wife Denise are great people, and he sent a very good tip for us to share with you today. You see, there's another trick that carjackers will use, and this one's getting quite popular. You go out to the mall, you park your car, or you're maybe going to your job, you park your car, you go into your car. As you go to your car, always observe your car, look your car over as you go. Always have situational awareness. Well, what they're doing today, they're taking a drinking plastic bottle, like a bottle you have water in. They'll take that plastic bottle, empty. They will put it right there, or empty or not. They'll put it right there, right next to your tire well there, on top of your tire, next to the fender. And when you begin to move your car, once you get in, everything's fine. You crank it up, get ready to go. It's going to cause a noise, and that noise is going to say, hey, what's happening to my car? That's what your mind's thinking. My tire, did I blow a tire? What in the world happened? And so you stop, you get out and check your car, and then, right then, that's when the carjackers will attack. So keep in mind, as you go into your car, if you see a plastic bottle on that tire, that driver's passenger side car, rear tire, you see a bottle there, you can pretty well rest assured you're being set up. Call the police, call authorities, get away from there, get some help. Thank you, Albert Bishop. Albert and Denise Bishop, wonderful people from Washington, all the way from the state of Washington, who gave us that trick of the trade that the car thieves are using these days to carjack you. That new trick, a drinking bottle up against your tire and your tire well. Well, our main topic today is surviving a home invasion. By the way, do you know what the number one mistake people make regarding home invasions? What do you think that is? Now think about it a moment, because we're going to share with you what I think the number one mistake is in just a moment. But right now it's time, you got it, for those crazy crook stories. And boy, as I said, this is it is just one that I still shake my head at. It comes all the way from Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio. They arrested a man up there. Guy's name was David Mincer, and he was accused of robbing 4 central Ohio banks between May the 23rd and June the 12th. And this happened during a robbery on June the 4th, Huntington Bank, 1880 Hillard Rome Road. It says that Mincer was tricked into giving the teller his driver's license. Listen to this. Now, Mincer approached the counter. He gave him a demand note, said, hey, I want money, I have a gun. The teller, very smart teller, gave Mincer the money and a die pack. Now, Mincer was smart enough. He took the money, but he put the die pack right back on the counter. Now, Mincer then tells the teller he wants more money. I got to have more money. And the teller says, well, I'm sorry. I have to have a driver's license because a driver's license is required to use the machine to get out more cash. Well, Mincer reportedly then gave the teller his license to swipe through the machine swipe through the machine to get more cash, the additional cash. Yep, that's right. Handed his license right over. She swiped it, gave it back to him. A detective was then able to identify Mincer based on the ID and immediately filed an arrest warrant for him. Mincer. He's accused of robbing the PNC Bank there and also another one, and then the Heartland Bank and even another bank he robbed. And he took off, they say he was last seen driving away in a white vehicle. Well, I guarantee you one thing, at least he has a driver's license, doesn't he? Yep, he has one. And he used it to identify himself out of robbery. Poor crazy crook. Well, you just can't make this stuff up. Well, a few weeks ago on our Charlie program, it was called Gunfire in America. Is it time to arm yourself? Now, we mentioned in that program that females are among the group of people. A trend is showing that more females are arming themselves at a greater rate than men at this time. In other words, more gun permits are being sought by females than men percentage-wise. And we're finding that very true, and here is where it paid off. Here's the headline. Virginia mom shoots New Zealand man who met daughter online and tried to break into their home. This story comes from Goochland, Virginia. It's right up from Richmond, Virginia. We have listeners in the Richmond area as well, and we appreciate all of you folks out there. A New Zealand man, all the way from New Zealand, he traveled to the United States, all the way to the home of a 14-year-old girl that he had communicated with online. That's right, communicated with her online. And as he communicated with her online, he got to the home, he smashed the glass door and tried to enter the home. Now, Sheriff James Agnew says that this took place up there in Goochland. There's a neighbor up there by the name of Brian Sylvester who was interviewed, and he says this. He lives in the Holland Hills neighborhood in Goochland. He told this particular news group of people at WTVR, I believe it was, he says if anybody tried to break into his home, they wouldn't stand a chance. He said his neighbors feel the same, and apparently they do. Sylvester went on to say, you should probably be wearing a flak vest. You're going to get shot if you come to these homes up here and try to break in. Now, the woman who shot Skinner lives several houses away from Sylvester. Sheriff Agnew says Skinner met the teen while playing video games online. They chatted through an app called Discord, a chat app for gamers. Agnew said the teen did not want to meet Skinner in person. He was not invited here, Skinner says. He was not expected here. He had been told in the past that his daughter no longer wanted even to communicate with him. And yet this man flew to New Zealand, from Australia, to Los Angeles, and from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., and from Washington, D.C., took a bus up to Richmond, Virginia. Sheriff says this wasn't random, it wasn't spontaneous, this is very planned. You see, Skinner brought a knife. He was armed with a deadly weapon. He brought a knife and duct tape after arriving in the United States, and he also had pepper spray with him. The sheriff says that the teen's mother did not know about her daughter's communication with Skinner. When she saw a man trying to enter her home, she warned him several times that she had a gun. Agnew said she fired after he tossed a landscaping stone through the glass of the second door that he tried to open. He was struck in the neck, and he remains hospitalized to this very day. Sylvester says when you pull the trigger, it's not an easy decision to make, but I'm glad she did it because she probably would have been hurt had she not. That's what the neighbor said. But my friend, she may not have only been hurt. Maybe her daughter would have been raped or killed, or both of them killed. So this lady protected her home, her daughter, by using a gun. And this is a good mom with a gun. A good mom with a gun stops a bad man with a knife. Now, New Zealand said they were aware of the incident, but they did not know much about Skinner, but they had reached out to his family. So here is a illustration of a home invasion. Yes, a home invasion that started all the way from a teenage daughter playing an online game, and yet it came to a home invasion, a man with a knife, and she stopped him with the gun. All right, now what's the most dangerous mistakes that people make to become victims of a home invasion? Well, here it is. Think about it. I think, by far, the most dangerous mistake in dealing with home invasions is having the mentality that it cannot happen to you. thinking that it would not happen to you. You see, Gooseland's a beautiful place. It's not a high crime area. It's a beautiful place up on the other side of Richmond, and people would not expect anything like that to happen, and yet it did. And home invasions, they're growing at quite an alarming rate. Now, while they are reported daily, the real number is difficult to find, because as carjackings, they're often lapped into other crimes, robberies and burglaries. Residential burglaries are a different sort of crime, even though they may overlap. You see, the bad guys that do residential burglaries, well, they mostly hit the home during the daytime when no one is there. You see, they sometimes scout out their target, looking for homes that are easy to break into. They do not want to be confronted, and they're usually not violent unless they're provoked or cornered. But now, the horrible bad guys and gals who do home invasions, they'll strike at nighttime, and they'll strike when your family's at home. They plan for a confrontation, and they plan to overcome the challenge. These crimes are terribly, terribly violent, and yes, friend, they can be deadly. They can be deadly. So that's the difference between a home invasion and just a regular someone who is wanting to steal things from your home. Now, the most dangerous thing is the mentality of think that it can't or it won't happen to you, because it can and it will happen to you. But there is a way that you can be ready for it, and that's what we're going to be discussing on today's program. I call it 3 P's in the pod. 3 P's in the pod that will help you to survive a home invasion. Before we get to that, though, it's time for our cybercrime. And our cybercrime, actually the hint and tip comes from our website, charliecrimebuster.com. If you go to charliecrimebuster.com, you go in the resource tab, and under there is a safety tab there for safety apps. Some of the best safety apps of 2018, and this particular one should be of interest to a parent anywhere, anytime. It's one where you can search the area to see what sex offenders are there in your area. If you just moved to a new neighborhood or you're planning to, you can research any neighborhood with this app. You simply activate your smartphone's GPS, connect to the National Sex Offender Registry, and you locate registered sex offenders, predators in your area. You can search by name, address, zip code. The results, they'll be displayed right there on an interactive map. You can click on that location for more details. Even get pictures, names, addresses, and a list of the offenses. You can find that app right on our website, charliecrimebuster.com, under the resources tab. All right, let's say we're getting ready for a home invasion. The number one thing you can do, we've got 3 P's in a pod. The first P is prevention. Starts with the letter P, prevention. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the best way to survive a home invasion is never let them into your house. Make sure that your family is well aware that you do not, can I say it one more time? You do not open your door to strangers. And watch out, some of these strangers, just like the carjackers, they have their tricks of the trade to try to get in your home. One trick is what I call dress up. They'll dress up like a utility worker. They'll say, hey, something's wrong with the water line. Something's wrong with the electricity in the community. I need to check your house. I need to check your home. No. Do not allow them entry. If it is a real person, have their company call you. You call their company back. Verify before you let that person into your home. Sometimes they may even dress up as a cop. Now, if you look out and you see a uniform standing out there, look very, very, very cautiously. Check to see where a car is, because the police car should be there. The guy didn't parachute down to suddenly be standing in front of your door. And if you still have some suspicion, say, officer, please, if you don't mind, I'm going to call your department. Just want to verify that you are who you say you are. And I think most cops would appreciate that. So check people out before you open that door. Don't open that door at nighttime, anytime, unless you know exactly who's standing out there and you know that they are not a threat to harm you and your family. Do not open the door. Make your house a hard target. Make your house a hard target. Difficult to get into. Have the right kind of doors, locks on the doors. Have the right kind of windows, locks on the windows. Have your house fortified. You know, there used to be an old story that we told back in the hills of Tennessee. Yeah, a lot of people go hiking in the mountains. And sometimes there's some danger in the mountains. And these two guys were hiking up the Appalachian Trail in Tennessee. As they were coming up the trail, there was another group of people coming down the trail. And they said, hey, be careful when you get up to so-and-so bluff up there. there's a terrible, mean bear roaming around. And so immediately the two guys were there, and one of the guys sat down on one of the benches right next to the trail. He reached into his pack, and his friend said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm taking my hiking boots off and I'm putting my tennis shoes on." And the guy laughed at his friend. He said, "I don't know why you're doing that. You cannot outrun a bear." And the guy said, "Hey," he winked at his friend and said, "I don't have to. I just have to outrun you." Ugh. That's right. He just has to outrun him. Well, I've said it often and heard it said and repeated it as I heard it said. Just make sure your house is the most difficult house on the block to break into. Make sure your house is the most difficult house on the block to get into. The very first step to be able to survive a home invasion is never allow them entry into your home. Never allow them entry into your home. So that's the prevention side of it. Now let's talk about the second P in this pod of safety. First P, prevention. Second P is the letter plan of action. What kind of action plan do you have in order to stand up against a home invasion? Do you have a plan? Is there a plan that you have in which you can stand up against a home invasion? There was a program one time I saw on TV, and I'm not going to mention the people's name to protect their privacy, but it was a lovely husband and wife. They had a lovely family, 3 children. They had been to a theme park all day long. They came home tired, exhausted, put the 2 kids to bed, took the youngest child to bed with them. And because they were so tired, they made a horrible mistake. They forgot to lock up securely, as we should every day in our homes. And they left the back door unlocked, and a meth addict came in that back door in the middle of the morning and was standing at the foot of their bed with a shotgun that he had taken from the home. There, the husband and wife woke up to a strange man, weird-looking man, standing at the foot of the bed with a shotgun. They had a home invasion. He demanded money. "How much money do you have?" "Well, we have a few $100s. He said, "I need more." He said, "Then I'm going to take you to your bank in the morning." So they're lying there, frightened, and here is a man with a gun. Their children in one room, and there they are before this man with a gun. Now, they had already had a plan. They already planned, if something like this happens, this is what we're going to do. They'd already planned that if anything like that were to happen, when it came down to it, the husband would rush the attacker while the wife would run outside the home and run to get help. They already had that plan. They already discussed that's what they would do. And they had a little signal, and they gave the signal, and the man rushed the man, and while he rushed the man, the lady ran out and got help. Thankfully, this one ended well. The man was arrested, and nobody was harmed, all because the person had a plan. What kind of plan do you have? What if somebody were to invade your home? Does your family know what to do? Have you talked it over with your family members? Do you know what action you're going to take? Do you have a plan of action? Now, most people in that plan of action will say the best way is to have a safe room, a place where you can go, lock the door, where the door is solid, strong, they can't get through. Inside that room is a phone and everything you need to get a hold of authorities. Everything you need to wait it out until authorities come. If you have a safe room, that's wonderful. That's a great plan, but most people, unfortunately, cannot afford or do not have that kind of room in their house. Well, there should be a spot. There should be a spot you go. You hear somebody breaking into your house in the middle of the night, gather all the people in one area. And if you're in a room together while you're calling the authorities and you have a weapon, make sure you can put together what we call a tunnel of fire. In other words, make sure if you're in the room, you're back on the other side of the door where they can't see you through the door. You have your weapon. You can take anything that comes through the door. That's called a tunnel of fire. That's the best way to do that. If you have a weapon and they are attacking you in your safe room, your safe spot that you have asked your family to gather. Maybe the plan is to have the teenage son or daughter go through a back window to run to get help while you confront the attacker. I don't know what your plan may be, and there's a lot of great ways you can plan for that. The important thing is that you have a plan. There may be a better plan, but you have a plan. Have a plan already in motion in your mind, and it's already communicated to each person what they're going to do in the event of a home invasion. Even most of us who are crime buffs, we've watched that show called The Blue Bloods, where everybody in the family is involved in some sort of law enforcement or the DA's office. And there was one particular episode where Aaron Reagan, the DA, was taken hostage. Danny Reagan, the brother, was there. And it was very clear that something was going to happen, and it wasn't very good. This man had already shot one person. They had a saying, and the saying was this: if somebody cries out, "Please don't hurt my family," then immediately they would go into action. He cried out and said, "Please don't hurt my family." Aaron knew to try to get away from the hostage taker, and at the same time, Danny attacked. So there was a plan of action. There was a word, a safe word. Please don't hurt my family. When that happens, they knew that they were going to fight for their lives, and they did. So you need to have this plan, friend, and this isn't fiction I'm talking about. This is real life that I'm talking about. A plan of action to protect you in the event of a home invasion. All right, the very first part of it, prevention. Do not allow them in the home. The second part, have a plan. Number 3, the process of that plan. Follow through on that process. It's very important that you're willing to follow through. When I was at the Law Enforcement Academy, there was a quote that's often shared in police training around the country. And I love the quote, and I hope it will mean something to you. It certainly means something to me and millions of others probably. The quote is, "My will to survive must be greater than my adversary's will to kill." Did you hear that? My will to survive must be greater than my adversary's will to kill. That's the kind of mentality you have to have when it gets down to the real nitty-gritty of being in a home invasion. You know, there's only a couple of things you can do in a home invasion. Number 1, you can run, go to a safe room, hopefully you can get help. If you can't do that, the other thing you can do is comply. Do everything they tell you to do. Maybe you'll get out unhurt, and maybe they're just there to get something. Or number 3, you can fight. And there are a lot of things that will go into consideration of which one of those things you can do. If you can't run and you see they come in and they have masks on, then that means they do not want to be identified. And they do not want to be identified. Maybe they have plans to not take your life. Maybe they just want to take stuff. If they come in and they have no mask on, it means they don't care whether they're identified or not. That means the danger just goes up a notch or two. I can't tell you what to do. Only you can know what you need to do in that situation. There have been times when people have complied and everything came out fine. There have been times when people have complied and everything did not come out fine. There have been times when people have fought and they saved their lives and the lives of their loved ones. There are times when people have fought and it didn't work out. So what I'm telling you, this is something you're going to have to decide yourself. I know for my own peace of mind that I'm not going to stand by and let my family become a victim without doing something. And I'm going to be ready with a plan of action, and I'm going to follow through in that plan of action. So you need to have that plan of action, but more than that, you need to have the mentality to follow through with your plan of action, the courage to make it happen. Remember, your safety and the safety, more importantly, of your family is at stake. Be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that you and your family survive a home invasion. One thing to keep in mind about these bad guys, most of them, do you hear me? Most of them are not suicidal. Most of them do not want to lose their life. And when they realize they're up against a hard target, when they realize they're up against someone who has a plan, when they realize they're up against someone like this lady in Gooseland, Virginia, who would not dare allow that man to come in and rape her daughter and take her daughter hostage, that lady who said, "You're not coming through these doors and I'm willing to shoot you if that's what it takes to save my family," that's the kind of mentality you must have in order to survive a home invasion. Well, folks, this is Charlie Crimebuster, and we've been talking about a home invasion. 3 P's in a pod. Number 1, by far prevention. Never allow them in your home. Number 2, have a plan of action. Try to improve on that plan of action. Read everything you can on what you can do to make that plan of action a better plan of action. And number 3, process. Follow through the process. Follow through your plan. Be willing to do whatever it takes to keep you and your family safe. This is Charlie Crimebuster, and this has been a Charlie Crimebuster special on home invasion. If you have other ideas that you can help share with our audience, we welcome those ideas. Again, a great big thank you to Albert Bishop and Denise Bishop, all the way from the state of Washington, for their tip on carjacking. If you have other tips you would like to share, we welcome them. Contact us, charliecrimebuster.com. Till this time next time, stay alert, because the life you save, well, it may be your very, very own.